Today I'm going to be reading 1-star reviews of these books. So we're going to start off with No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. This is a book of the month book for December, and this is my first book of the month book that I've ever bought. So we're going to read some 1-star reviews of it. Out of this list, this is also the most recent book that I've read. So all of these reviews are from the app Goodreads, which is a reading app. So the first one says, what I didn't like. 1, all of the men in this book. 2, I hated all the characters in this book except Emma. Just because, what I have to say about that one is just because you hate a character doesn't mean you hate the book. Although that can happen, but I don't really understand it for this book. And then the next review says, this is a hard D and F, which is did not finish. I got to 50 pages, which is not a lot at all in this book, and decided that I'm too old to read books written for young adults. My bad. Book of the month obviously slipped a young adult into the selection. This is a bad book. The characters are so unlikable. I hated, and I mean loathed, Nathan and Emma. What a bunch of terrible people that I guess we're supposed to root for. Eventually I'll never know. Nathan is a terrible and useless husband who literally makes the worst financial decisions within the first 5 pages and then tries to gaslight his newly pregnant wife into an abortion because of his ridiculous immaturity. When I got to page 25 and realized that garbage of a human was 30 years old, I knew without a doubt that this book wasn't for me. So in this book, Nathan being like a bad husband and bad father and stuff is part of his character. You know what I'm saying? That's how he was written into this book. So, like, okay. Thanks for the character explanation. Also, this book, my rating for this one was 3.5 or 4, I think. Okay. Now moving on to this popular book, If He Had Been With Me. I haven't read this one for a little while, but I rated this one 4 stars. So the 1-star review on this book says, I felt like I was watching a turtle make its way across the country just to fall off a cliff at the last part. Not fun. So I think what that's saying is that this book is really slow paced to this person, and it felt like it was all leading up to something, but just fell off a cliff at the last part. But like, it didn't end the way that they wanted it to, I guess. And so I will say this book may be like a little bit slow paced, not like super slow paced, but compared to some other books. But the whole point of this book is that you know what's going to happen at the beginning. It's one of those, like, you know what's going to happen, and then you go through all of it to reach to that point. So fell off a cliff at the end is kind of what you go in knowing about this book. So I don't understand how that would make it a 1-star book. The next one, this is a Nicholas Sparks book. So this is The Wish. Okay, and the review says, I know for sure I will never read another Nicholas Sparks book. So predictable. I had guessed the ending way before the middle of the book and was reading the book just in the hopes I may be wrong. Alas, I wasn't wrong. So this person said that's predictable, and they knew what was going to happen by the middle of the book at the end. Now for me, sometimes if you do figure out what's going to happen, it can be a little bit upsetting or whatever, but I feel like this book, even if you did know what was going to happen, it's still super interesting to see how it happens, or, you know, like how exactly certain things happen. For me, I didn't predict the ending of this book until like almost the ending, and like, you know, I don't know, this is one of the best Nicholas Sparks books I've ever read, despite it being a little bit predictable at the ending. But yeah, I don't know, still a really good book. I'm gonna move on to one of my favorite books ever. This is one of my 6-star books. This is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. So this review says, I envied Kaya's mother for walking out of this book on page 6 and not having to suffer through the rest of it like I did. Excuse me. Okay. So if you didn't like it that much, since page 6, that's like that much of the book. Just, I don't know. I feel like I would read at least 50 pages or so of a book until I decide if I like it or not. So, you know, maybe just keep reading it, or maybe it's just like not your genre or something. You know, research books a little bit before you start reading them. And this other review says, "Too unrealistic to enjoy." That's the title of this review. "I was very disappointed in this book after reading all the hype about it. While the reading is good, the story is so nonsensical. A 6-year-old left alone in a shack raises herself, living in the same shack, using the same boat, and no one lifts a hand to help her. In more than 20 years, the boat never breaks down, the house doesn't need repairs, and she's able to wear the same clothes for many years. She's got long hair that she says is ratty and tangled, but descriptions of it has it down her back, luxurious. She's gorgeous, but bathing is optional until in her 20s. No flu, cold, nothing. She never gets shots and apparently has the immune system of a superhero because she stepped on a nail and never got tetanus. I kept reading, so I'd finished, and the ending is unexpected, but it's generally a boring book where day after day she's alone in the marsh." So the point of this book is that she's alone, and also, okay, so like some fictional books, there's just gonna be some things that's not explained because it's a book, and that would just make it too boring to explain every single little logical thing that would make it boring also. So yeah, and also with this book, like, the point is just her being alone and going through all these things, and the part in this review that says and no one lifts a hand to help her, people did help her out. If you remember, there were a few people that helped her here and there, and yeah, totally different like point of view of this book than I have. I love this book. It's literally my favorite book I've ever read. It's amazing. The movie is also amazing. This is one of those ones where like the movie literally displays the book very well, very well. Okay, so yeah, that was my reading 1-star reviews of some of my favorite books. Let me know if you guys want a part 2 to this, because I have a lot more favorite books than this. But thank you guys for watching, and hopefully this wasn't that boring. I know it's kind of short, but thank you.